This is CNN Breaking News.
Welcome to our viewers here in the United States and around the world. I'm Wolf Blitzer in the Situation Room. We're following breaking news, an unfolding weather disaster centered in Texas, but now threatening to extend all the way to New England. Just moments ago, the Texas Governor Greg Abbott said he signed a major disaster declaration that's awaiting approval by President Biden. He also said that power has now been restored to nearly 2 million homes, but tonight, 325,000 remain in the dark for the fourth straight day as record cold temperatures stretch across the state. Governor Abbott is now pledging to reform the state's energy agency, and he's saying, and I'm quoting now, Texans deserve answers about why the shortfalls occurred. And more severe weather is on the way. 100 million people are in the path of a major storm, and winter weather alerts extend from the U.S. Southwest all the way up to the Northeast. Let's get straight to Texas, though. Right now, our national correspondent Ed Lavendera is in Dallas for us. Ed, Governor Abbott has just signed a major disaster declaration. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's going to be another long night here, but after 4 days of taking a political beating over this disaster in Texas, the governor says he accepts responsibility for the situation at ERCOT, the state power grid system, but not before once again laying into the executives at that agency, saying that what has happened is unacceptable. Texas is bracing for another dangerously frigid night.
We are not yet out of this. We will not stop until normalcy is restored to your lives.
As another winter storm barrels in, the White House has declared an emergency in Texas and Oklahoma.
We ain't got no water, it's no heat, it's nothing.
Local officials are fed up and fearing the worst.
The truth is that right now we're just trying to keep people alive and safe for the next two days.
We expect to see that death count rise.
It is a mess. It is a mess.
While power is being restored through much of the state, some 13.5 million Texans are now facing water disruptions.
Our whole apartment!
I'm out of candles, for a little bit of light. We can't charge batteries.
At grocery stores, there are long lines and empty shelves as food supply chains buckle.
You can't find food, and when you do, you have to stand on a line 4 or 5 hours. This is ridiculous. Whoever's in charge of this, they need to run them off because that's not right.
Governor Greg Abbott has taken aim at ERCOT, the organization hired to manage more than 90% of the state's power grid.
ERCOT failed on each of these measures that they said they had undertaken. Texans deserve answers about why these shortfalls occurred and how they're going to be corrected, and Texans will get those answers.
ERCOT's CEO says it prevented a catastrophic power grid failure with no time to spare.
It was seconds and minutes, given the amount of generation that was coming off the system.
Others are blaming Abbott and his state's focus on a low-cost, deregulated power supply, largely independent of the national grid.
The choice is not a federal takeover or people freezing in their homes. The choice is to require winterization of equipment like all 49 other states do.
One official left the crisis behind. Senator Ted Cruz was photographed boarding a flight to Cancun with his family. He says his daughters wanted to take a trip, so, quote, wanting to be a good dad, I flew down with them. And the senator added, my team and I will continue using all our resources to keep Texans informed and safe. Senator Cruz is scheduled to return in the coming hours. And Wolf, there are still about 375 households across the state that are still without power, but power grid officials say that none of the outages at this hour is being caused by problems at power generating plants across the state. It's all from damages of the power lines around the area, so that will take some time to repair. And the governor this afternoon, Wolf, is also calling for the mandatory weatherization of power plants across the state. Too little, too late for this week, and it's something that the state legislature here has had a chance to do for years and years. But now, with the urgency of what's happened this week, it's become a popular thing to champion. Wolf?
Yes, it has. Ed Lavendera in Dallas for us. Ed, thank you very much for that report tonight. There's more severe weather on the way. CNN meteorologist Jennifer Gray is tracking it all for us. Jennifer, this one will impact people far beyond Texas, right?
You're exactly right. We have people from the Texas-Mexico border being impacted all the way up to northern New England. These systems are very far-reaching. We have the one that just went through Texas, Louisiana. That one's now entering the Northeast. And now we have this one right on its heels, bringing more snow to places that have already seen several inches, like San Antonio, more freezing rain to places that already look like ice rinks. And it's also bringing hard freeze warnings to places that have been below freezing for the last week or so. Here is the current snow depth, and you can see 4 to 6 inches across places in Texas, East Texas, the hill country. You can see that bullseye right over Little Rock. Record cold has been real. Since February 1st, we have seen more than 1,000 record low minimums, more than 2,500 record low maximums, and the numbers will keep climbing as we go through the next couple of days. Look at Dallas at 29 degrees. Like I mentioned, Dallas and San Antonio both have been below freezing since the middle of last week. Now, as this cold pushes to the east Friday and Saturday, we are going to be in store for more possible record cold temperatures, at least 60 or more. But look at this. High temperatures tomorrow finally get above freezing for places like Dallas. San Antonio will actually hit 48 degrees, so a little light at the end of the tunnel. So that warm air will definitely be pushing in. Wolf, of course, we'll see temperatures close to 70 degrees in Dallas within the next 5 or 6 days.
That's encouraging. Looks like it's going to get better. Our meteorologist, Jennifer Gray, thank you very, very much. Let's get some more on all of this. Democratic Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee of Texas is joining us. Congresswoman, thanks so much for joining us. I know these have been difficult days for everyone in Texas, including you. You've been out delivering groceries and water today, but we've also seen a lot of Houston residents lining up to simply get water from a park spigot. Just how bad is the situation, Congresswoman, right now?
Well, Wolf, it's very bad. We're standing at Texas Southern University here where the students are helping us give out water to the neighbors. We came from another site where over 200 cars were lined up for water and for food. It's very bad. And it's very bad because this state, the state government, the state agency simply thought they could go it alone. It's unbelievable what we've experienced. And the thing that hurts me the most, Wolf, is the loss of life that we've experienced. We're familiar with hurricanes, but we're not familiar with the idea of people dying from carbon monoxide, fires, and losing the lives of grandmothers and children. That's what we've experienced this week.
That's an awful situation. How long is it expected to take, Congresswoman, before everyone gets power, gets water restored? How widespread is the problem of pipes bursting, for example?
Major, because obviously our homes are made for warm weather. But our electric grid should not be for warm weather. It should be for all weather. And unfortunately, ERCOT, which has 5 members on the board that are not even from the state, decided that Texas could go it alone. And they had an isolated system that was not subject to federal regulation. And here we are with failed generators that did not provide energy. So right now, universities don't have power. Neighboring homes do not have power. But what's most tragic, and I'll just share with you, is that people are losing so much. The pipes are bursting, and they're taking out people's personal and beloved belongings. Roofs, ceilings are caving in on homes, in kitchens, in bedrooms. So it's a long journey. They said that we might get power by Sunday. But actuality, I call for them to get power on today because they have power coming in from something called the Southwest Power Administration, that is an Oklahoma and a Arkansas combination. Really, those are the only 2 states that we have a real relationship with in terms of the grid. The grid is only Texas, and it's failed us, and they failed us, and they failed the people. And so we're pushing to say that we can't wait any longer. We need the power on no later than this weekend.
What do you need most, Congresswoman, most urgently to get through this? Are you getting enough state and federal support?
Well, I want to thank the Biden administration who began talking to me at the beginning of the week. They told us about the Southwest Power Grid. And as well, we know that they're prepared to give us some additional funding for our energy grid. But the most important thing is I have asked the governor right now, because we have a presidential declared disaster. We need personal assistance from FEMA. We need the individual payments to these people who have lost everything, whose homes are burned up, who's lost their family members, who are living in cars. And so we hope the governor will write that letter. We haven't heard that he has, because it has to come from the governor to ask the Biden administration to give out individual assistance. The other thing is that we hope we can quickly pass the COVID package, $1.9 trillion, because there'll be some additional cash in their pockets. But the pain is great. The lines are long. I don't know if you can see it. We're giving out water right now. People are in line for water and in line for food. And so we need power, but we're going to need cleanup. And the other thing that we're concerned about, and I want to thank the Houston Police Department, the Texas Southern University Police Department, law enforcement, and the first responders. The fire department has been nonstop for emergency calls. But what we're going to need is well checked. We're beginning to knock on the doors of our seniors in these older homes across the city just to determine, hopefully, that they manage to get through. Hopefully that we won't see any high number of those who have passed, though we know that we've had to take seniors out of their homes and take them to hospitals.
Representative Sheila Jackson Lee, good luck to you. Good luck to everyone in Texas right now. We know what a horrible situation it is. Let's hope it gets better and gets better soon, because lives are on the line. So much is on the line right now. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for caring. Thank you very much.
We certainly do care. Up next, the White House unveils a sweeping new immigration bill, even as it's trying to get its pandemic relief plan passed. We'll update you on that when we come back. The breaking news we're following: President Biden preparing to unveil a major contribution to the global fight against the coronavirus. Our senior White House correspondent, Phil Mattingly, is joining us right now. He's got details. Phil, so tell us what the president is about to announce.
Yeah, Wolf, President Biden tomorrow at a virtual meeting of G7 leaders will announce that the U.S. will contribute a total of $4 billion to a global vaccine initiative known as COVAX. What this initiative is in large part doing is to try and get money to provide vaccines to 92 lower to middle income economies, basically try and surge vaccine opportunities, vaccine availability to economies who may not have the ability that the U.S. and other larger countries have to actually obtain those vaccines. The initial sum will be $2 billion, with a second contribution of $2 billion to follow as global pledges come in. Essentially, what they're trying to do with this initiative is try and expand the global reach, expand the global initiative, get other countries to also add their money in as well. And the bottom line here, Wolf, is two things. One, this $4 billion was appropriated by Congress in December for this reason. However, the Trump administration made clear they did not plan to participate in this initiative. The Biden administration has reversed course and will now be sending funds there. The other thing to keep in mind here, this money will not actually take away from domestic production or domestic distribution of the U.S. vaccine. The U.S. obviously has already obtained orders for 600 million doses. That is already in the can and coming by late summer. So what the purpose of this, according to senior administration officials, is to help other countries as new variants are spreading around the world, essentially try and get as many shots into as many arms across the globe as they can to try and stall what obviously has been an enormous problem for countries pretty much everywhere over the course of the last year, Wolf.
It's been a global pandemic, to be sure. Phil, the White House also unveiled a sweeping new immigration bill that would create a path to citizenship for the millions of undocumented immigrants here in the United States. How difficult will it be, though, to get this passed?
There are a lot of hurdles, and the White House officials I've spoken to acknowledge that fact. Democrats on Capitol Hill who sponsored the bill, introduced the bill this morning, make clear they know that's the case as well. However, if this were signed into law, it would be the largest overhaul of U.S. immigration law in more than 30 years. And the cornerstone, Wolf, as you mentioned, was an 8-year path to citizenship for those 11 million undocumented individuals in the country. Also a series of other proposals like surging funding for immigration judges, and a widespread widespread overhaul of immigration law. But Wolf, the reality remains, as it did in 2005, as it did in 2013, as it did throughout the course of the Trump administration, there is a very, very difficult pathway to finding 60 votes in the Senate and 218 votes in the House to actually get this passed. What the Biden administration purpose is here, and in concert with the Democrats on the Hill who introduced this legislation, is essentially to put something on the table. They know the bill that was introduced today, which lines up with President Biden's goals and kind of key elements of his plan announced on Inauguration Day,